Changed hands so many times among the Europeans. So what I want to say is, the English or the British were the last occupants of this land. So before them, some other Europeans were here. First of all, the Portuguese occupied this place around 1555. And from the Portuguese, this area changed hands to Sweden around 1653. With the Swedish, on records, they constructed a fortress, which they named Karolsvik. But around 1658, Denmark fought them and took over. 1660, Holland fought Denmark, and 1664, England also fought Holland, in that order. And some of you ask, why did this place change hands like that? The Europeans knew so well that whoever occupies this land controls the gold and the slave trade. And apart from that, this land had a natural defense system. You see, the water around is really shallow and rocky. So the thing is, if you want to attack, you can't come closer to attack. When you come closer, your ships will sink, or your ships might come crashing through the rocks. So you have to attack from a distance.
Yeah.
And you attacking from a distance was an advantage to them. They would know of you, and they will bring in all these strategies to sink your ships. So the Europeans knew all these factors. That is why they fought among themselves for this land. So when England took over around 1664, they lived here from that time to 1957. The British lived here for more than 200 years. And also, I want to talk about castles and forts along the coast of West Africa. The estimation was West Africa had about 50 of them. And out of that number, Ghana had more than 40. So interestingly, Ghana had about, let's say, 95% of all the castles and forts West Africa had. And we had that much because of gold. You know, gold attracted the white man to this part of the world. We had it here than any other West African country. From the account of Mansa Musa. Have you ever heard of Mansa Musa?
Yeah. It's in Ghana.
Yeah, so when I like Mansa Musa of the old Ghana Empire was really rich, he had so much wealth in gold. And this man became a Muslim, and you know, every faithful Muslim would have to travel to Mecca. It is accounted that whenever Mansa Musa travels to Mecca, the value of gold in the Middle East drops. So those were around the 13th century. He also constructs mosques every year when he visits Mecca. So this news about Mansa Musa spread all over the world. Unfortunately, Mansa Musa died around 1331, and you know, his empire collapsed as a result of his generosity and the invasion by the Arabs. And interestingly, just last year, Forbes did an estimation of Mansa Musa as well. And interestingly, the richest man ever to live on this planet Earth was a black man. Mansa Musa was worth about 400 billion US dollars. In terms of the gold he accumulated some centuries. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, just through the account of Mansa Musa and all that, the Europeans got to know that the gold was right here in West Africa. And they came, and whatever they used was true. They stayed, built their forts and castles. But today, out of the more than 40 castles and forts we have, you can only see about 30 plus. And out of that 30 plus, 3 of them are castles, the rest are all forts. So we have Elmina Castle. And Elmina Castle happened to be the first European structure in sub-Saharan Africa. It was built around 1482. It is about 200 years older than this one. We have the other one in Accra, by name Christiansborg Castle, built by Denmark around 1660. Today, my emphasis will be on the Atlantic slave trade. This castle was mainly built for the slave trade, not the gold trade. It is really simple. You could make so much money from the slave business around the 16th, 17th, 1800s stand the whole business. This was the era the Europeans demanded sugar, tobacco, alcoholic drinks, and all that. And unfortunately, Europe could not produce the raw materials needed. So another region was explored for its cultivation. So now North America, South America, the Caribbean, and the West Indies was explored. So many acres of land were grown, sugar cane, cotton, tobacco, and all that. So the next thing was human labor. Unfortunately, this part of the world was chosen. The whole concept was the African was much stronger, robust. Africans were good farmers. So unfortunately, Africans were enslaved and later shipped from here to those regions to work. So Cape Coast Castle was mainly built for that. And I also say that we live in a capitalist world now. And I can also say for a fact that capitalism had its roots from the slave trade. Yes, because now enterprises, businesses, institutions got themselves directly involved in this business and they made a fortune out of it. Some of these enterprises or some of these institutions exist today as I speak to you. We have some of them in Ghana, in the form of banks and all that. So let me mention a few like Barclays Bank, Bank of America, Bank of England, JP Morgan Chase. We can talk about Wall Street. We now know Wall Street as a place for stocks and bonds, shares and all that. But before that, Wall Street was an option for slaves. It's just like a market. You go there and you can buy slaves. So perhaps that's why we had the word stock. Stock from the stock of slaves and all that. So it all started here. We'll visit the dungeons. See how human beings were kept for over 400 years before they were transported to those regions. Alright, any questions or comments before we go?
In the best way.
It's okay. So normally what we'll do is for the dungeons, we don't like touching the dungeons.
Okay.
If we should touch the dungeons, it's like we are erasing the history. So we try as much as possible to keep it intact. So that people know the relatives around.
Everything inside is natural.
Okay. Exactly.
As it
So we leave
was.
it like that. Yeah.
So we suppose our nose to
Oh no, it's not that. It's not.
Your position.
It's not that. The male dungeons. And talking about the male dungeons, the rooms here are 5. There is room number 1. We have 4 extra rooms behind. And the excavation was a room accommodated about 200 people. Like this, yes. About 200 people were fitted here. And since the rooms are 5, when you multiply 200 by 1,000. So from room number 1 to the 5th room, a total of about 1,000 men were fitted in this dungeon. And they lived here for about 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. So the whole would depend on how early or how late the ships will come. And we know, as we all know, some years back, the journey depended on the current and the direction of the wind, because there was nothing like engines. So they had to stay here and wait. So whilst they were waiting for the ships to come, they did most of the things in the dungeon. So it's like, for that 200 people here, wherever you find yourself, at that point you had to go to toilet, you had to urinate, you had to sleep. So as a matter of fact, human beings slept on their own feces and urine for more than 100 days. There are gutters on the floor. Then you also ask this question. These gutters were actually provided for some of the toilet and urine to go out. But these gutters were too tiny, so how many times could feces and urine run out even for 200 men working. So the thing is, the gutters got choked up to about this level, to about this height. This room was filled up with all the things we left. 1974, we excavated, or we dug up this place. So all the feces and urine was removed. So after removing everything, we found the original floor and the gutters. So if you had been here earlier than that, you might have seen whatever I'm talking about. And the holes you see out there were the only way light and air could come into the dungeons. There's another one behind you. At times, food and water was also dropped from there to the other floors. This was one room they reserved for those they thought to be aggressive or very hard. Some of them died in the dungeons, and here when you die, we just take the body and dump the body into the seas. And I had some of you were asking questions about these. These are sculpted heads. Sculpted heads. And actually, these sculpted heads are here as a memory to our ancestors who were victims of such brutalities. It also depicts the different phases of Africans the European ship to the people. So it's part of an exhibition we've titled the Inchinchim Installations, or the Inchinchim Exhibition. Inchinchim means the twist and turns in life.
Okay.
So that is everything behind the sculpted heads. Alright, any questions or comments before we proceed? Visit the other room. Alright, so let's visit the other rooms. It's a bit different from a lot of room number one. It's just because out of the 5 rooms, we excavated only one. Because the thing is, we can't go about removing everything. If we should remove everything, then we don't have anything to tell us people. So we left these ones. So from room number 2, 3, 4, and 5, today we are standing on top of some of the things they left. So this thing is a combination of some of their skin cells, feces, urine, blood, vomit, saliva, sweat, tears. Everything they left. We are right on top of this. And at the middle, we find their gutter. So feces and urine, in the midst of people, feces and urine have to go through it. Just like it rained some few hours ago. So, for example, whilst people were here, toilet and urine passed back into the sea. And unfortunately, right above the dungeon was a church. So a church was built in a dungeon. So you see, there was this hypocrisy. It's to the Europeans, this was nothing. Their conscience about this business was clear, that God approves of what they are doing. And even in the Bible, they used certain stories to defend their reasons for this. I think we've all heard the story of Cain and Abel. Cain. Okay, let me tell you that story. We all made sacrifices to God, but one made a very flimsy sacrifice, and God accepted the other one. The other brother got jealous and killed the younger brother. And it is believed that Cain, who killed the younger brother, was of black skin. And after he killed the brother, God cursed him that he would suffer. So that is why black people should suffer and be slaves to the Europeans. That was one of their justifications. There's another justification about the story of Ham. Noah had children, and Ham was one of them. And in the Bible, it's believed that Noah got drunk, got naked, and Ham saw the father's nakedness, that he was supposed to cover the father's nakedness, but he didn't do so. He rather laughed and made a mockery out of the father. The other brothers saw it, and the other brothers covered. And it is believed that Noah cursed Ham, that he will be the slave among his brothers. So it is believed that Ham was of last. But the European justified this. The associated that with people. So these are some of the justifications. So they so behind you, that's a spinal. There's a spinal. It's called the soldiers. You can stand there and watch. So from that angle, you know what's going on.
The plastic sound.
It's a ruler. What is that? There's some small hole.
Okay. I learned that they put holes in the walls and at times they fixed chains. In the walls so that they fix it in the walls.
Okay.
Let me show you that. Alright, so this is the last room. Do you realize that this room is more brighter than all the rooms?
Yeah.
Oh,
Those were there you came here.
so it's more brighter. It's brighter in this white. What? Okay, you consider that one. Yes. Yes, these are for the priests and priestesses. Yeah. Yes, there are priests and priestesses who come here to pray, do sacrifices, do other rituals and all that. Yeah. Okay, so let me talk to you about this. You know, today this room is a shrine, and I think one of you mentioned the name of the deity. I think you mentioned the name. Yes, the name is Nana Kadesh. You know, before the Europeans arrived, and also before the Arabs introduced Christianity and Islam, we had our own form of religion as Africans. Before we were converted, we believed in the existence of God, and we believed that God created all the things on earth. And if you want to worship God, you could worship God through the things He created on earth, through the stars, the moon, the rivers, the stream, anything natural. So that has been with us for centuries. On the altar, there are 2 stones on it. The stone is an oracle, or a deity or a god. It was here before the Europeans arrived. You realize that where the Europeans constructed their castles and forts were all sacred grounds. So that now it's more of psychological. Now this is a sacred ground for you. I've taken it, I've constructed my castle. No, you see me as the authority.
Okay.
You understand? Now you see me as that god. That you are worshiping or something. So basically, when the Europeans arrived, these sacred stones were relocated from here to somewhere else. But later, around 1990, they brought it back. So till date, whatever needs to be done here, according to their traditions of religion, they do. So as I mentioned, there are priests and priestesses who come here to pray, to do all the rituals. Still. Exactly. And not only even us. It might interest you to know that you find others, like other brothers and sisters from America, Jamaica. Some of them travel all the way from there to come and do rituals, pray and all that. You know, you realize that when you go to Brazil, Jamaica, Haiti, and all that, some still practice the traditional, and they come here in their names just to do their rituals. Yeah. So that's the importance of the altar.
What about the money?
It's just like people come, right? They take the schnapp, they pray. Okay, I've come, I have to pray for libation. They do their sacrifices. And after, maybe you wouldn't pray or do sacrifice, but your belief tells you that when you drop money over there, if there's some form of protection that you need, it's just like you are a Christian.
So what about if you take?
Oh, it's not going to take money from the shrine. It's like, that's why I said there are priests and priestesses. Exactly. Unfortunately, the former priest of the shrine died, and I think they're having the funeral this weekend. Yeah, that old man, that man, the black man, yeah, he died, and yeah, I think he was buried today. So somebody is here, another priest is here, so they will come and. It's just like maybe if you're a Christian and you travel to US, you visit a church to worship. If you're a Muslim, you travel to another country, maybe Mecca, you visit a mosque to join them. And maybe if you practice a religion, you also come here and you do what is needed. So that's the importance of the okay, the stone is sacred. You can only maybe stand if you want to pray, if you want to do something, you can just do that one. But you can't touch it, it's sacred. You can't touch it. Yeah. And there are flowers and wreaths behind you, which we also had to remember those who died during the slave trade. There's one that I want to show you. You see this wall? You see this very wall? Behind the wall, the British built a tunnel, like a passage. So what I'm trying to say is that at some point in time, that end was opened up. It wasn't closed though, it was opened. So in chains and in shackles, all the men were taken through the tunnel towards the door of no return. But the British closed the tunnel to mark the end of the slave trade. So as we were saying, this room was brighter than all the rooms, so that we could sort the slaves out. Get those who are strong and fit enough, those who are sick and weak, to stay behind in the dungeons at the time they would die, while the stronger ones were. See, the conditions on the slave ships was bad. Because we learned that on the ships, nearly a half of them died before they reached North America from here. So if you are sick and weak, there was no way you could survive. Let me give you some of the conditions of the ship. Like for example,